Bay Area, I'm coming to San Jose February 28th, and then San Francisco March 6th through the 9th. I'm doing 5 different shows. I would love to see you there. You can get tickets at fumiabe.com.
Welcome to Cash Cuties,
a super personal finance podcast where we look at our friends' credit card statements and judge their spending habits with love. I'm your host, Fumi Abe.
And I'm Steffie Baik. If you're listening on your Apple Pod app, please leave a review, hit follow on Spotify, and sub to our YouTube channel for the video version of this podcast. All the links are available in the episode description below.
Shout out to our Dono Daddies. These are people who give us money on Patreon. If you want to join us, go to patreon.com/cashcutiespod. This week, we have Bethany. She gave us $5. Thank you.
We love
so
that.
much. And what is Patreon? It's the best way to support this podcast. So if you want to shout out on the podcast or access to bonus episodes, which I think we have like 8 episodes on there right now, go to patreon.com/cashcutiespod.
They're very silly. You need to check them out.
I know. They have nothing to do with money, and it's a good time.
There's 1 or 2 videos that have to do with money.
I think it started that way, but then the last 2 have just been about like the kind of underwear that you wear.
Yeah, if you want to know what kind of panties.
But it's not like the hot, you know what I mean? It's not a
How
hot.
dare you? What's up? Let them figure it out.
Okay.
That's rude. Thanks for your dumb review.
Hey, they were loose. You know what I'm saying? They're white and they're big and.
Well, dude, you're telling them more. That the whole point is it's a mystery.
I'm trying to tease them. Oh, if you want to hear more about Steffie's big ass white underwear, go to Patreon. Anyways, our guest is regretting being here already. Our guest today has a vegan cookbook coming out in March titled Sesame Soy Spice. You may know her on her socials at VEGGIEKINS. Please welcome to the show, Remy Morimoto.
Yay! Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. Do you go by that full name?
Yeah, I just feel like it adds a little bit of like, I don't have to explain that I'm part Japanese, you know?
Yes.
So I kind of like that.
Yeah.
A little bit of mom in there.
If you had to rank your Asian language skills,
top
3.
Mandarin would be top.
Okay.
Followed by Korean. And then Japanese is at the bottom.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah. My French is better than my Korean and my Japanese, actually.
Your French?
You speak French?
God, you're so like big brained.
Yeah,
I love it. I feel like
happening?
This is what the future holds is like smart, beautiful, vegans.
Well, maybe this is what's possible if you are vegan. You get these special powers and you can.
Do you think so? Do you think it does something to your brain? How long have you been vegan?
Yeah. I've only been vegan for, but it's been 8 years. So, and all the language stuff was before that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
She's like, they're stupid. So that's you have to clarify.
No. Damn.
Okay, vegan for 8 years. So since this is a money podcast, we wanted to open with this. I feel, we are not vegans, me and Steffie, but we've tried vegan food. It's good stuff. But my sort of take on vegan food is that it's kind of expensive. Mm-hmm. And what would you say to somebody who wants to be vegan but doesn't feel like they can afford such a lifestyle? Like, what's your whole financial take on veganism?
Yeah, I think it's a really good point because when you think about veganism, people love to say online, it's so easy, it's so affordable, it's so good for your health. And that's true if you're eating like rice and beans. But realistically, I think like people need variety and they also need to feel like they're eating food that's familiar to them. And that's why a lot of new vegans gravitate towards like Impossible Burgers and eating out with friends. Like you want to enjoy the same lifestyle that you have with your friends where you can go out to eat and stuff. And that adds up because all these like cheese substitutes are marked up a little bit higher. Until the demand gets there, it's going to be, I think, a little bit more expensive. Prices, I think, have gone down since I first started veganism. Like if I wanted to get a vegan pizza, it was like $18-20. Now you can get like
for a whole pie,
like a small personal pie kind of thing. Yeah, and like now you can get one for like $12-15. You go to like Blaze Pizza and get a personal pizza. So it's getting there. But I think if you want to do it super cheap on a budget, rice and beans, super cheap. Vegetables are always going to be kind of the same price. It's doable, but there's a lot of prep involved. And I feel like that's where like time is money sometimes, But I think oat milk is my favorite thing to look at as like a gauge for like, how are we doing? How are we doing?
That's funny.
Because like the price has gone down to add oat milk to your lattes.
Yeah.
There are some places that like have gotten rid of the surcharge completely to do an alt milk.
Ooh.
And it's oats and water.
Do you feel like $1? It's typically $1.
Yes,
I noticed. Do you think that's a fair amount?
The surcharge.
Or what do you think the fair amount for a surcharge of oat milk is?
I don't know. I feel like these days oat milk is not that expensive, but it's not subsidized the way like dairy is. So I think that's the issue. It's like, I mean, not to get like too into like big dairy and all that,
Get
but
into
like
it. Big dairy,
you know?
get into it. Shots fired.
big oat milk needs to become a thing.
Big D.
Do you feel when you pay that extra surplus for a vegan alternative, how does that make you feel as a vegan person? Do you feel like, why do I have to pay more than the average person to live this lifestyle that you feel is not necessarily like that far in the left field? You know, do you feel sort of like discriminated against, or you keeping track of the money? Does it annoy you? Because I know that it would annoy me.
Yeah, it's like, how fancy do you want to get with your food? Like if I go somewhere and it's like, okay, a slice of vegan cheese is like an extra $1.25. I'm like, do I need it? I don't know. Do I? And then it's like, I could have a more boring burger. I could like load it up, and it's just like every sauce and topping you want to add is like another extra charge. So it's really like, I don't know. It's like, how much do I want to spend today being a vegan? But at the same time, I'm also like, I guess I'm like supporting it. Like the dollar is showing demand, right? So I'm like, I don't know. I'm a little torn, but I kind of feel like if you go out to eat as a vegan, you know, you can make the same shit at home, just buy like the same processed stuff, right? But like, it's the convenience of it and like showing a restaurant like, yes, we want more of this. So I try not to feel too bad about it. And I save a lot of money in other ways. Like for example, I can't really buy any designer handbags because it's all leather. So I just kind of tell myself like,
shit, wait, I'm sorry. Is that what vegan is as well?
Yeah.
Vegan is not just about what you put in your mouth. It's you're like, wait
Yeah,
a
Fumi,
second. So
come
you
on.
can't drive cars that have leather seats?
Well, see, that's like a tricky one because I think the definition of veganism is within reason, but I don't
reason,
have a
okay.
license and I don't know how to drive. So I haven't crossed that bridge yet. You could get like the felt
Hold on.
seats.
How old are you? What the hell? What is this? You brought a little child to a
she's
podcast?
I think she's also from like where did you say
I'm from
you're
New York.
You're from New York, so she
okay,
doesn't
okay.
necessarily.
So I'm 28, but
Okay, got it.
you know, like I'll sit in leather cars. It doesn't bother me. It's not my car.
It's not your car, yeah.
If I
You're
were to buy
sitting
a
on
car,
a leather couch right now.
Oh, yo!
Is that bad? Is that,
Yo,
are you
she's
gonna,
about to lose
are you
followers
gonna
right now, bro.
combust right now? I'm so
no,
sorry.
you know, like it is what it is. Like if you really get crazy about it, the phone screens have like gelatin in it. LCD screens. Like
What?
it's impossible to be completely perfectly vegan. I think just the way the world is set up.
Yeah.
But I think it's all about like doing what's best or doing what you can within reason. And that's why
Yes.
like I'm not an extreme vegan when it comes to thinking about other people either. Cause I'm like, it is not accessible for everyone. It's not realistic for everyone or sustainable for everyone. And I think that's something that when I first went vegan, I was very like, everyone should be vegan and like it's so easy, not thinking about like food deserts and access. You know, I lived in New York. I had access to whatever I wanted. So I think like I've kind of started to think about it in a more reasonable way over the years. It's been like 8 years. So
Yeah.
you know,
Have you turned people vegan around you?
I think, well, I get a lot of DMs and I think it is effective.
Vegan DMs.
Yeah, like, hey, you know, I tried this recipe and I've been plant-based for a month or something
Yeah.
like that. It is effective, but I've also never been the type of person to be like, you should go vegan. Like, I don't think I've ever said that online.
See, this is important because I feel you might be like the least pretentious vegan person I've ever met in LA, because I feel the stereotype is that they're always like talking about it, you know,
Yeah.
and they're trying to convince people, convert people.
Yeah. Okay. So I've been like, right. We all know I've been dating, and
Yeah.
it's been like pretty difficult in terms of like I feel like so many things have to match up. I feel like food is one of those things that's extremely important in dating somebody. Do you find it, how does it work for you? Like, do you ask them, or does it matter to you that they're vegan or not?
So I've never dated a vegan man before. It's not something that I think about when I'm dating, so long as the person is respectful and open to like oat milk. Like, you know, there are some people who feel so offended by oat milk and like soy. And if that's the case, like it's
Offended
not
by
gonna
oat
work.
Can you
milk would-
elaborate that?
Yeah.
A, I don't know what you're talking about. B,
Yeah,
what do you
I
think that
don't-
is? Or maybe because we
What?
live in LA. Are you talking about like if you ordered oat milk in like Alabama, someone might think
I
you're
don't know,
gay
it's
or
like,
something? What
I'll
are you-
get,
what are you
like,
talking about?
People that are like, oh my God, why would you eat this fake food? And like, they're just really, for some reason, feel so strongly about vegan food being like not real and unnatural.
Yeah.
And I think that can be true because you can eat Oreos and be a vegan. But I think I'm pretty balanced in the way that I'm eating like whole plants. It's just got to be someone who's like respectful of what I'm eating. At the end of the day, like food is a big thing. But if it's, I don't know, I guess like if it's so important to someone that they cannot eat a vegetable, like we probably couldn't get along, even as friends.
What if
you
they
know?
mostly ate meat? Like if they're on an Atkins diet and they only like they love like 70%. Like I went out with somebody
Yeah.
who like was convinced that meat was healthier because they feel better after they eat meat and they lose weight because, you know, like the keto and all that.
Sure.
And so like, he like, something about it started giving me the ick, like knowing that there's something about like, I might be making out with him and like he like reeks of meat or something, like grossed me out, so I couldn't go back.
What's the
Like,
you want him to reek of eggplant? Like what's the alternative?
Yes, honestly, yes. I'd rather have you.
Okra.
Yeah, okra.
Actually, that sounds tight. If I was making out with somebody that smelled like
That's what I'm
okra,
saying.
I'd be like, reminds me of my mom. You
Lettuce.
know? That's nice.
How about strawberries, bro? But like cow, like that's weird.
Yeah.
Like I just don't
And you know
want.
what? That's a good point because I feel like there are a lot of men, especially in LA, where fitness is a thing where they're like, I'm a fucking meat
Yeah.
eater. You know, like they're like very.
Yeah.
They might feel veganism is like too feminine or like, you know, I don't know if
Right.
you've encountered that. There's a masculinity.
Totally, there's a masculinity to eating like
meat and-
raw,
or
especially
like
raw meat.
or like there's a masculinity to rejecting veganism even.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I feel that because
Yeah.
the comments that I get whenever a video blows up and it's vegan, I'm like, oh no, because I know it's going to start reaching like the meat eaters. And it's always like
The way you said meat eaters.
Yeah.
and it's like, I don't mean it in like an omnivore way. It's like there are these people that will just comment steak emojis on my shit.
Oh,
and I'm like,
shit.
okay, like I know it's out there. I go to the grocery store, I see it every day. It's not like I'm unaware, right? So whenever that happens, I'm like, okay, I know this video is doing well. But I do think you're right. And it's funny how like people say vegans are so outspoken about veganism, but I feel like the carnivores are doing the same thing, right?
Hey,
And that's
so
the
angry.
That's so true.
That's
That's
true.
so true.
And my
And so-
response is
Absolutely.
like, I don't care what you, I never asked what you eat. I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
I'm just eating what I eat and I
Yeah.
post what I eat. I've never been the type of person to be like, you should eat this
Well,
way.
Okay, so like if you go on a date and stuff, is that like, does it make it harder for them to pick a restaurant and stuff because you are vegan, or is that like sort of part of the challenge and filtering system? If someone's not gonna do that for you, then
I've always dated people who are into food in some way because I feel like that's a big part of my life, whether vegan or not. So I feel like part of being a good cook is also like understanding veganism and how to cook vegan.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's a good barrier. And it's also like showing a level of effort. Like if a girlfriend of mine was like, I'm going on a date and she's vegan and the guy she's like trying to see has no idea what that is or won't like look it up or find an option, I'm kind of like, it's not that hard. Like if it was an allergy, I think there would be no doubt about it, right? Like if someone was like, hey, I have a nut allergy, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to make sure I find a spot that's like
right.
nut free. So
Yeah.
I'm like, it's not that different. It's just something about the word vegan, I feel like sometimes that really turns people off. But it could be a good filter, right? It's like for my
Yeah.
girlfriends, I'm like, hey, you know, if that's not cool with him, like it's probably not going to work out. And I do have vegan
Wow.
friends that are very like, I will only date a vegan man. But yeah, that's never been the case for me.
What's the most expensive vegan habit you have?
Oh man, that is a good question.
We looked at your credit card, so we know the answer. But we just want to see if you're being honest with yourself.
Oh, I actually don't know. I don't know.
It could be like a food
Yeah, it could be
or
grocery store.
veggie that you buy that's like over the top, like very.
Okay, I'm
more
gonna say it's probably Instacart. I think like I spend a lot on Instacart, but it's also because it's part of my job and I love business expenses. So sometimes I kind of like, I'm like, oh, this is a business expense. Like I shouldn't think twice about it, you know?
Yeah, we were just talking about that because
Yes.
I saw your Instacart. I was like, holy shit!
Well,
This,
yeah,
I
we're
don't
like,
know
why are you
anyone
doing
that buys
Instacart?
that much
Yeah.
Instacart.
What
But
do you mean? You mean because you just need stuff quickly, so you need
It's
to.
that, and it's like I don't drive, so if I do an Uber to the
That's
grocery
right.
store, it kind of just like is the same price. So I'm like, let me save time, stay home, get it delivered, you know?
in terms of New York, going back to New York and LA, do you find a certain type of food, vegetarian or vegan food, is better in one of the cities, or is it the number of restaurants that are just better that are vegan?
Yeah, I think here the number of restaurants is like astronomical, or just people that have an option to offer here.
Yeah.
Almost any restaurant, and the produce quality is better here, but I always feel like the restaurants are more creative and just like, I don't know, there's something about New York restaurants that I feel like are better. I get very nervous
Interesting.
comparing the two, but there's more creativity. You could find like a very specific type of cuisine that's vegan in New York, whereas in LA I feel like the default is like Mexican, salad bowl, wraps, you know, and it's like everyone's got that on the menu, but if I want like spicy Sichuan Chinese food that's vegan, I can find that in New York, you know?
Right.
I really don't like wraps.
like
neither.
wraps in general.
Me
Just
neither.
generally,
Yeah, I got it at the
there's-
airport yesterday. And immediately
You got a
regretted
wrap.
it.
You chose a wrap over
Well,
a
you know what I've been
sandwich.
doing at the airport to save a little
What?
money, because your boy's all about saving money.
Oh, I know.
I need
You've
to learn
been
from
wrapping
you.
a sweet potato to take.
No,
take
no, no,
with
no,
you.
no. So like, if I do pack a lunch to
Yeah.
the airport. I do that. But then on my way back, I usually don't have something. So yesterday, there's like this little vending machine at most airports called like, Farmers.
Oh, the vegan one. Or
is it vegan?
No, sorry. Actually, it's not vegan.
Farmers
I always think
Ridge
it
or
is.
something?
Yeah.
I'm sure they have vegan things, but it's like just a vending machine with like wraps and salads made in there, and it's always like $3-4 cheaper than buying a sandwich at Dunkin' Donuts or something, and it tastes a lot better. So I've been doing that, but they raised the prices on those guys recently, so I still paid like $11 for a wrap. Yeah, I don't like. I'm not
It's
a wrap
always
guy.
the wrap is always so soggy. Like how
Or
do we?
dry. It's never perfect.
It reminds me of like when I would go to open houses, like for homes, and they would just have wraps from Costco, like sitting there. It's been sitting. There's like flies flying around it. It's got like a scent the minute you open it.
Yeah.
So that's like just ingrained in my brain about a wrap, a certain wrap. Okay, marry, F or kill. Japanese food, Chinese food, Korean food.
Oh my God. I feel like Japanese food is very stable. Like I could eat it every day. It's not like too spicy. It's flavorful, but it's clean. Like I could eat it every day and be like very happy and content. So I feel like I have to marry Japanese food.
Ooh.
Korean food,
okay.
No, I'm kidding. Let her finish.
Okay,
Let her finish.
Korean food is like, it's like spicy, it's fiery. It's like you can't eat every day, for me at least anyway. But when you eat it, you have a great time. I feel like that's like a fuck. Oh,
It's a
sorry,
one-night
an F.
stand.
An
A
F.
one-night stand in K-Town.
Oh.
What's the other one? Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I guess.
You want to kill Chinese food?
Taiwanese food is so good.
It is good.
The breakfast, I love Taiwanese breakfast.
Well, you said Chinese, so.
Oh, did
You're
I say
right.
Chinese?
Oh, yeah.
No, just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Did I say that?
No, but I think
meant
like
Taiwanese. I'm sorry.
I think, yeah, I feel like Japanese food is simple. It's easy. It's like reliable. I love rice. I just love good rice. So that's a really tough question.
What kind of rice are you buying these days? Are you buying the good kind?
It depends. For videos, actually, sometimes I'll buy the not so great quality stuff because it's
You
like,
buy like nishiki?
I love nishiki.
Nishiki sucks. No.
Cali Rose.
Huh?
Cali Rose,
Those are bad.
Blue Star,
Wait, are you buying them
Coda
on purpose?
Farms. I just kind of buy like something, to be honest, it's whatever the Instacart person gets me. Like I don't
You
have,
just put rice and then you let them pick?
half the time it's like you make your choice, but it's what's there. And like the person, if they're feeling lazy or like motivated that day to look for it, and you just kind of get what you get. That's the downside of Instacart.
Wait a second. Steffie, what kind of rice are you buying? Because this is
at the Korean market.
but you know which one you're getting, right? You're not gonna just.
I get Japanese rice.
That's fine. I'm just saying, like, I would never let some random.
You know what I do?
Pick one.
No, I sometimes I'll just say, hey, what's on sale, or what's like the newest harvest one.
You asked for the newest harvest.
Okay.
They have
In
new
Los
harvest
Angeles?
rice in Los Angeles, and they could be bullshitting me. I don't care.
There's no way this high schooler working at H Mart knows the newest
No, it's
harvest.
old. It's old Asian people. I just trust them. You could.
Oh, you mean when you physically go to H Mart?
They could sell me some weird. Like I would just be like, okay,
That's
yeah.
interesting.
But like my rice lasts forever. I live by myself. It's like it takes me a long time to finish a bag of rice.
Yeah, that's how you know you're single is when the rice bag won't quit. It's just there
the
forever.
moth has gone to it.
The little weevils are in the rice.
Always. There's always goddamn freaking moth.
Well, I mean, I feel like you do have a lot of Instacart on here, but groceries you spent. Let's see, you spent like
I don't wanna hear the number.
in 2 months. First of all, you sent us credit card statements for like a year ago. I don't know if you did that.
Yeah,
on purpose.
did you do it?
Well, I do all of mine in advance, and I haven't.
What do you mean you do yours in
Like
advance?
I do my taxes and all my bookkeeping in December when the year ends.
Oh, so you just did it for this past
so I had
year.
it all like done. So I was like, let me just send this over. It's like
I mean,
organized.
I don't know if you remember it, but you spent about over $2,000 on groceries in 2 months, which we think is pretty high. But I'm just assuming something.
But it's but you're also making food. Like that's her content.
Yeah, but
It's her
I don't
work.
know. I mean, is
Or
it?
are you just
Ask
like,
her, is it?
or is just vegan food so expensive?
That's what
you know
I'm
what
thinking.
saying?
That's what I'm thinking.
But also she's Instacarting, so if we did the math on like her not driving, is it essentially similar to someone who does drive to the grocery store to buy things, and that's accounted for?
See, that's a good point. I'm guessing if she'd had a car, maybe this would even be like close to $1,300 or something like that. Which
Right.
I feel
So-
like is more of a. I probably spend like $500 to $600 on groceries a month or something like
Okay.
that.
I think I spent like $400,
Yeah.
maybe.
So this is high. Explain yourself.
First of all, I have a little bit of like a fear of looking at numbers, like my bank account. I look at it when I need to, and I have like a rough idea of like, okay, I'm good. But it's until I do my taxes that I'm like, oh my God, this is crazy. But I will say that month was particularly bad because we were doing cookbook recipe testing. So sometimes I was making a recipe like 3-4 times a day. And our schedule was like, wake up, film recipes for Instagram, then test 3 to 4 recipes for the cookbook at night. So in a day, I was probably cooking enough for like 10, 15 people. So it was definitely above average for me spending wise. I say that, but I don't know how much I spent this month yet on groceries. So I don't know if that's necessarily true, but it was a lot of food that was around me at the time.
Are you in your cookbooks or cookbook? Do you know what your most expensive and what your cheapest recipe is for people to make?
Ooh, I think the grain-based recipes are the cheapest recipes. Like I have a couple of like congee in there. I think those are more affordable because nothing's perishable. I think the biggest struggle I had was I would buy all of my groceries for the week thinking like, we're going to test all these recipes. Some of them wouldn't make it that week. And then the vegetables would go bad and I'd have to like end up rebuying. So that was a very real thing that happened. But I think that is one thing about buying fresh vegetables is like, it's going to go bad versus pasta, rice, grains. Like you can keep it forever, you know?
Right.
That's true.
I want to go back to this thing you said about how you're afraid of looking at numbers.
Oh.
What is that? Where does that come from? What is that about? Because you sent us your, financial statements. You also sent us your income. What a flex, by the way. We didn't even ask for that.
Oh, I thought
You're just making us feel bad, by the way.
No.
Thank you.
Well, no. I thought because that would have been on my statement, but I separate it so that I can see
whatever,
it. Like,
man. But where does that fear of number? Because
I think it's badass,
you
dude.
sent us this like. You already put your expenses income in like an Excel sheet for us. So when I got this, I was like, oh, this person is like extremely organized. This person is checking her expenses constantly like I am. And so, but to hear you say, I'm afraid to look at it. I'm afraid
That
to
was
add it up,
surprising,
those two don't go together for me. So what's going on there?
I have this like fear of opening mail and emails and anything that's like a document. So like
I get you, dude.
What?
I get you
it's
about
so
that.
bad. It's truly like I consider myself like pretty business savvy, but when it comes to like the documents, I don't know what it is. An email sits in my inbox and I have her tell me, she'll be like, you need to respond to this email. I'm like, I know it's past the deadline, but I just can't because in my head, I'm thinking this email is going to take me like 20-30 minutes and I need to like, find the password for this account. I've got to like make a payment on this website. And it's just like a lot. So I'm like, I'll come back to it when I have the time and I never
You're
come
one of those
back.
people who have like 1,000 notification things on their phone. That's an ick for me. That's an ick for me, man. I like a clean 0.
Mine, look at this.
Yeah, I know. That's disgusting. I hate that.
The fear thing, I think it's just like, I don't know what it is. I feel like I wish I knew more about money. Like I'm doing okay. I'm doing fine. Like everything's getting done. But for some reason, it's like taking the time to learn more about money is very daunting to me. I read like a book and everything and I thought I felt good for a while and then I was like, oh no, this is not good.
Well, I think sometimes that comes back to our childhood or our history with money. Was that something that was talked about in your family?
Honestly, not really. It's come up more nowadays because obviously now I have to be aware of like how much it costs like live and how much I make. And like a big goal for me is to like help retire my parents. I would love to like give back to my parents because I think once I got to college, I really understood the value of money, if that makes sense. Like I wasn't really aware because growing up, like as a very young kid, my parents were like broke, didn't really have a lot at all. And then it wasn't until we moved to Asia and my dad had a job that like didn't necessarily pay more, but it was that we had a lot of things covered for us being expats. So we had like a driver, for example, we had our private school paid for. We went to international school. We had a lot of luxuries that we just wouldn't be able to afford in the US. And I think that gave my family time to like catch up and be making like a comfortable amount. And then my sisters were born and they had a completely different experience where they've just been comfortable their whole lives. So now as they're approaching like college age and I'm working, my mindset is always like, you guys are so chill. Like this is crazy. And I've had a job since basically the end of high school. My mindset was like, I want to pay back my parents because it's crazy to think about how expensive it is to raise a kid. And I had that realization working at like a student call center. There were kids on like financial aid, working like 3 jobs and being a student athlete, talking about student loans. And I'm so grateful I don't have student loans, but my goal was like, I want to graduate early from college. So I did it in 3 years and I was like, let's get out of the way, save like a couple $1,000, it's like really a lot of money. And then since then, my goal has just been like, I want to be financially independent. And I feel like that's very freeing too. Just, when it comes to like being in relationships or even like roommate situations, there's a lot of freedom when you can take care of yourself financially,
Was that your first job, the one at the call center?
My first job was working at Abercrombie actually. And I was so excited.
Oh my God, what a theme.
Yeah,
Such
that
a
was
theme.
my first job too. That's so funny.
That
I thought
makes
it was like
sense.
awesome. And then worked at Abercrombie. I did like fashion internships. I did all kinds of random things. I worked at like the Shark Tank show for a little bit. Like I was trying to find out what I was going to do.
Yeah.
And then I ended up working at a consulting firm for 3 months. And it was supposed to be a long-term thing, but it just got to be like not sustainable for me in terms of, so I'm sober now, but at that time I realized like a lot of these consultants were like just doing coke, like drinking it like water, basically, you know, to stay awake. Cause it's like, but we barely slept. We travel all the time. Yeah. So, it was around me and I was like, this is not a good environment for me. And I felt like, I understand why you guys are doing this. Like, I'm tired, you know? So I was like, let me take a break.
That's crazy.
And I was doing content for fun at that time, but I got offered a deal that was my entire salary. And that's when I was like, okay, at the very least, I can quit for a year and then figure out something that's more fulfilling or like better for me. But then I didn't realize like I got paid, I think like net 200. So I quit with like very little in my bank account thinking like, oh, I'm set. Yeah. And that's what really kicked my butt when I was like, okay, I need to like line up partnerships. I need to make sure I know where the money's coming from for at least the next month of rent, you know?
Is this YouTube or was it?
This was YouTube, Instagram, no TikTok at the time.
And you were doing vegan content. That was your thing.
Yeah, vegan content.
That should be the name of your book, From Cocaine to Veganism. I feel like
God.
That's more of like a clickbait situation.
What would you say is the weirdest thing you've done for money?
The weirdest thing I've done for money? I actually used to thread people's eyebrows in my college dorm.
Whoa!
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I like realized I could do it, and these girls were paying like, I don't know, $50 a week. And then after, it only lasted 2 weeks because I realized like, damn, this is a lot of work. Like you should go pay $50. Like I'm not that great at it.
Some people have some bushy brows. Right? It's not worth it.
She'd be like, oh, it's time again. I'm like, we just did it last week.
Were you charging? How much?
Like $25.
That's pretty good for college.
Right?
That's
I was
fun.
like, it's extra money in my pocket. So I don't know where I got the kind of, I don't know if it's like entrepreneurial spirit, but I feel like I've always just been like, oh, I'll try this for money. I'll try that for money, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting to me because I feel like a lot of, maybe it's because you traveled all over the place and you saw your parents do all kinds of different things, but I feel like a lot of Asian kids actually do not have that entrepreneurial, spirit. They excel a lot of times in what they're told to do.
Yeah.
They may get better grades than you, but than another person, but they don't have like, I think it is scary to just kind of go off on your, I mean, granted, you had this opportunity that was like, oh, this is exactly how much I make. But even then, I feel like a lot of Asian kids will still be like, yeah, but what am I going to do next year? And not take that deal.
Right.
You know, so I feel like, I don't know how old you were when you got that deal, but there's clearly something inside you that felt excited about that opportunity. You were making decisions out of sort of optimism rather than fear, which so many people do, right? If you made decisions out of fear, you wouldn't have taken that because you're like, well, then I don't have a job the following year.
Well, at the time, I also thought to myself, like the consultants. So I was on the HR and diversity team at this tech firm, and the consultants that were doing digital and like other arms of basically that company were making a lot more than me. So I also thought to myself, well, if I do get another job after this and I take my year, like I want to make that much money. So my goals were set kind of higher. I think it comes from seeing my mom work so hard when I was young because she's really like a boss. Like I remember she would wake up at like 5 a.m., leave, pack my lunch, and she would like drive into New York. At the time we lived in New Jersey, and she's worked in like real estate. She's worked at like PricewaterhouseCoopers. Just like she's very hardworking. And I feel like even though it was never communicated to me, like we expect you to do the same, I feel like it rubbed off on me kind of. And I think maybe it's a personality thing too, but like no matter how down bad I've been with like drugs and, you know, whatever else was going on, I always felt very good knowing that I had my bases covered. So as long as my grades were good, I was doing my work, like all of that was good. I felt like it almost made me feel like I was okay, even if I was very much not okay, you know? Like I got my shit together, like I'm good, right? Meanwhile, I'm like very not okay. But like,
you had the stability. Yeah, you had somewhere to go back to always, like a safety feeling.
Definitely,
wow.
We like organize your expenses by how much, and like some of these numbers are crazy. Like what's going on? Like, okay, this is the category contractor. You spent $41,000.
Oh, okay.
What the hell is that?
Well, contractor, they're like people who help me with running my website, running my Pinterest, so stuff like that.
Wow. So that's like your biggest expense. People who help you make the thing that you make.
But it's stuff I really don't enjoy doing, and I'm honestly not very good at. So to me, it's worth it to have it be done and know that it's being taken care of well.
$20K a month, dude. That's crazy.
Wow, but that's kind of cool. I mean, if it does help you make the money more.
I mean, obviously you did the math. You're making more than you're spending, so I guess that's like fine. But I mean, that number scared me. This number, I mean,
That number scares me.
Did this number scare you? I mean, that's 45.
All numbers scare me.
You know what I'm saying? 2
Yeah,
months. That's a scary number.
But that's why, like she said, she's scared of it, so it's better not to like pay attention to it and have someone else take care of it.
Like
Why
us,
not?
like me.
Yeah, like it's better not to see if it's working out anyways.
You know what? That's a really good point. I do feel
Right?
like sometimes when you look at your money on a day-to-day basis, you think too short term and you get scared of things. You're like, oh, this month was awful, so now I have to find a temping job,
Yeah.
instead of just like looking at it.
Yeah.
I prefer looking at it year
Honestly,
by year
just
because
it's best to just repress it. Like just like it's not even
Just
happening.
ignore it?
Yeah.
It's best to
Yeah.
close the tab and
Close
just, you know.
you spent like
interesting.
$2,400 on health stuff, and I said, what is health stuff? What is going on there?
Health stuff.
Health stuff.
That's my gym.
Your gym
slash co-working
something
space.
called, you do like vitamin drip, $678 clean. What the hell is vitamin drip? What is
Okay,
that?
listen.
What is that?
So I got
You
sick
did
a
it
lot.
twice, by the way.
I got oh shit! I got sick a lot last year because I was working a lot, and when I traveled, especially, sometimes I would try. Okay, basically, I read this book, and it kind of like ruined the way that I started spending money because it's a book about money.
What is it called?
It's called "I Will Teach You to Be Rich."
Okay.
It's by, I think his name is Remy.
Oh, dude, my girlfriend's reading that right now.
Okay, so
Oh, it's gonna fuck her up.
I go home, she's
wait, I wanna-
she's
yeah,
got
she's
an IV
got
hooked
you.
up.
listen, I don't do drugs anymore, so that's all I can do.
Vitamins.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay. In the book, he was talking about making these categories for yourself of things that you will spend on without thinking too much about it, because sometimes you're wasting time by trying to find like the best deal on something, and then having categories where you're going to be a little bit more careful about spending.
Mm-hmm.
So he put health and travel in that category, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. Health is wealth, you know, so I'm going to put health in there. And then he
Yeah,
said something
'cause
like,
it rhymes. That makes sense.
Right.
Yep.
and then he was like, oh, when I travel, I only fly business. So I did that for a while thinking like, oh yeah, for sure. And then I was like, no, this is really fucking expensive.
Dude, it's a lot.
You know, we saw
you were
United
spending
Airlines charge for, like,
$2,000.
We saw one United Airlines charge for $9,000. I'm like, is that like a business?
I think that's when we went to Japan for business. Yeah.
Oh,
so
that
that
makes
was
sense.
business. And then
But still, bro.
But was that
10K?
covered, or is that just you? Is that
It's just you.
That's just you being like reading this book and being like, let me spend that shit. You know what? When I was doing my real estate sales, I had someone who I paid $1,000 per month to help me reach my goals, and he was all about spend a lot of money so you make more money, and like you should not have a lot of money in your bank account. But really, I think
That's
in the
dangerous.
end,
I don't like that.
it was fun, and believe me, it's like one of the. I'm happy I did it, because like now as a conscious spender, like I can't do it,
Right.
but at least I did that at one point in my time.
Right.
But in the end, I realized it's kind of smart, because then I would be hooked on him. On buying his monthly subscriptions because I need more money to fuel this lifestyle.
So you hooked on him because you want to learn more, or you just want to give away $1,000 because you?
No, I want to spend more.
wanna spend
There's no
more.
money in my account though. And so I'm constantly spending more. There's no money in my account, so I need him to help me. It's like an addiction to
Dude, but
like
this, like-
his spend to him making me money. Do you get what I mean?
But how did you go from like, because if somebody pitched me that, I would just be like, no. Like, what state were you in that someone said you got to be spending all your money? Don't worry, like you want to have nothing in your bank account, so you work harder. What made you go, yes? Like you were going through something, or you were at a stage where that sounded appealing to you. And that's the part I don't understand.
So we would go to these conventions, and there was like thousands of people from all over the world that would come to his this organization essentially.
Right.
And they would seat the top 20 people who were like the money makers. These people were making like millions of dollars in real estate.
His clients?
It sounds culty.
I know
It
what I
does.
say. This sounds like what's like Andrew Tate has a similar program. You know what I'm talking about for his incel meat lovers.
It was
And
Andrew
he
Tate.
He
No, I'm
puts,
kidding. I'm actually in his program. That's exactly who I was talking about, because we're all driving Lambos.
It is culty
so.
though. But yeah, I mean that's
no.
culty. Veganism culty.
No, I mean,
you know.
I did
Everything's a cult.
But
Everything is a
veganism,
cult.
I mean, I did like Tony Robbins. That's all culty stuff,
Ooh,
but I
yeah.
did it because it kept me in this mindset of like, I'm a freaking be the top 1%er in this space. And I kind of was doing it.
Right, you were in the chair next time.
Bro,
You were on the
I
stage.
was spending like $7,000 on rent in downtown. Like what? Why would I do? I would never.
Right.
I spend so little now, but it's also like maybe living that type of lifestyle just allowed me to continue to do that is what I'm saying. But it's not healthy. It's not healthy because like I was stressed all the time.
Right.
I feel that.
Right.
I feel like it's like
yeah.
you have no choice to make more money, so you do.
Yes.
Because you're gonna make it work. Like there's a fire under your ass.
Yes.
So like
Right.
my bills are this, so therefore I need to make this.
Exactly.
And now it's like, I guess the trade-off is now you can chill a little bit, which is also really nice.
Yeah.
You know? Time is money.
Yeah.
But I think that's true for a lot of creators because it's like the more you build out the business, like I could have built it out more and had more contractors, more full-time employees, but it's almost like you then have to like feed the machine, you know,
Yes.
like there's more people to pay. Therefore you have no choice but to keep making more money to make it sustainable. And I think that's why a lot of creators get either stuck where they're like, they need more help, but they don't want to invest the money, or they invest too much. And it's like, well, shit, now you have to make
Dude,
this
that's where
much
we're at
money.
right now. We're just talking about
Yeah,
this.
totally.
Well, we feel like we want to invest in this pod.
We're talking about like
By the way, why
$200,
the fuck
by
is
the
this
way.
light
We're
face?
talking about I like how we're like, she's like spending $20,000 a month. We're like, should we spend her $200 from her dono daddy?
I know. Well, we like want like a
Why?
studio space that we can potentially rent, but they're kind of expensive. We also want like a video guy that would free up our time.
Right.
And I don't mind breaking even with like the money we're making from ads and stuff because it's not a lot and it's not changing our life. But I would
We gotta
also
think
but
like a
if I'm
new-
being honest, I would also be okay with shelling out my own money a little bit. You know, I don't know how you feel about that, but like I just think like I'm always so afraid to invest more than what I have. But
I feel that.
I think that the people who do make it similar to this thing you're just talking about, I'm not saying go crazy, but I think like you do, if you feel like the product is good, you do have to invest. And I'm wondering if you ever had to deal with anything like, did VEGGIEKINS ever have a phase where like you were spending more than you were making because you knew it
Like
was
you were
good?
in debt.
Well, I'm kind of in that point right now where I'm not in debt, but the number in my bank account, like there's always this number I like to see. This is the only time I look at numbers. As long as I see a certain number in my bank account, I'm like, okay, I'm like good. Because
Yeah.
it's not going too far low, but you know, like there's
Right.
a number where I start to get like uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And I'm in that position right now because I've never spent so much on my business as I have in the last year and month this
Right,
year.
right.
And it's kind of like what we're talking about. It's like the cookbook. Yes, I got paid more than I ever have in other years because it's basically an additional like couple $100,000 that like you're getting as income.
Yeah.
But a lot of that also goes towards like the photographer. That could be like $70,000. It's the ingredients. It's like all the time you're spending writing this book.
You know what? I didn't even think about that. When you get an advance as an author, if you're writing a novel, I don't have to buy food, but you do.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't even think about
So
that.
not only it's the
and
food,
the photographer is really
and
expensive.
does that come out of your advance or does the
Yes.
publisher? Oh, so cookbooks are a little tricky.
But you
for
can also
finances.
okay. So we had Sing on, who
Yeah.
also has a cookbook.
I heard that one, yeah.
yeah. And he said that he spent instead of getting a photographer, you can take the pictures yourself.
Right.
Right,
And so
right.
you're saving money in that realm.
Yes, you can, but it also depends on if your publisher wants that for you.
Right.
And I think like I'm capable, but for me, I knew that it was something that I would spend so much time on because I'd want to make sure it's perfect.
Right.
And I wouldn't be able to do other things in my business. Like my full-time job would become cookbook. So a lot
Right,
of these
right,
creators will
right.
like disappear completely from social media while they're working on a cookbook because it's impossible. It's like a second job, you know? So I think it just comes down to understanding that like writing your first cookbook, at least the first one, it's got to be from a place of passion almost. Like
Yes.
don't go into it expecting this is going to make me a lot of money.
Right,
It's
right,
almost
right.
like the money is going directly back into the business.
Yeah.
If you make that money back and start getting royalties, then you'll see money, but it's
Right,
not the
right.
goal, I feel like.
This is inspiring. We're gonna put the money back into the biz.
Yeah.
Also, nosy. How much do photographers cost for cookbooks, like on average?
So it really varies, but for me, it was like a package deal. The studio, the food stylist. So I had a team of photographer's assistant, food stylist, with her assistant, and then a prop stylist, and then the studio. So that's like 6 different fees, and that was like around $70,000.
Wow.
So that's a
Wow.
huge chunk right away where you're like,
Right.
okay, I could,
You know, but to your point, like,
But it's gonna look sick.
It's gonna look sick.
It's
and all.
gonna be
What's the alternative?
amazing.
You're gonna like learn Photoshop on YouTube and like
Right.
spend hours. You know, like time
It's
is money
kind of
for
like
sure.
what she does. It's like you don't have to think about it too much because that's not your focus. Your focus is making a really good product,
Right.
for you and for your fans and people who want something. So it's like the more time we're spending on things that don't even like really matter to us or like that's not even like what we're good at or
I know.
passion.
I mean, I think that's the thing with the pod sometimes is like the hours that we spent setting up or I spent editing. It's like I'd rather be like figuring out with you how to do a live show or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I
Yeah,
think,
which
like,
would be more fun and
which would
we'd
more
be
fun
good
and it'd be
at-
good for the brand. And I think our fans would like that. And I think it's this tricky thing where it's like, do we just pay someone to do it and just don't even think about it. And like that part, I think can be scary for a lot of self-employed
Yeah, it's a huge
people.
step.
Yeah.
And I feel like upgrading the quality is like that moment where you have to decide, okay, if I'm going to decide to upgrade the quality, like it's going to be hard to go back from there. Because even for you, you're going to see like beautiful video content and then not going to want to go back to like phone content, for example. Like, so it's like, I feel like it's a very conscious decision to like invest in that. But I do think it can be worth it. And like, you can always try it and then like go back to doing it yourself. Like you're capable, you know?
Right. I mean, that's true.
That's true. It's like,
but I
always
also,
having this, knowing that we're going to be fine.
Yes. I mean, when we bought the second camera, like our views have gone up. So it does. That
really?
was nice. That was nice.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Like, cause we used to have like a shitty second camera.
Yeah. I feel like clips are important for a podcast too, right? So
I think it just like, especially for YouTube stuff, like just has to, I mean, before you even start talking, I think it has to look nice.
I agree.
For me to want to put my eyes on it for an extended period of time, you know? Wait, speaking of books, I have a little story that I want to share with you guys and get your take on. I feel like, do you read books?
You know what's so
she
funny?
just said she's reading the one about the money.
I know, but do you read like not that kind of books?
I when I have time, like that's how I know I'm doing good on like the self-care end. When I have time, I read books. But we were just talking the other day in the car actually earlier saying that like, man, I was so down bad when I was sick last week that like I started doing puzzles. I started reading books again. Like I was just so like, what do I do with myself?
Yeah.
Anyway, I do read books from time to time.
Well, I feel like, and you know, I hate to say this in front of an author, but I feel like books are like kind of expensive these days.
They
and
are.
especially because I read on my Kindle, and it's like sometimes so hard for me to justify paying like $19 for like a novel.
So is it not cheaper if you buy it on a Kindle?
It's not cheaper.
Okay, that's good to know because I was gonna buy a Kindle and now I'm like,
yeah, it is. Wait, I'm pretty sure
I don't think maybe okay.
It is cheaper
maybe
than actual.
Maybe a hardcover is like 25 and Kindle's 19 or something.
Yeah, it's cheaper.
Look,
you can also just go. This is what I do. Most of the books, not most, but like probably 60% of the physical books I get are like from Out of the Closet or Goodwill. They always have like the top books that you want anyways.
Really?
Or for like few dollars.
you guys have libraries in LA, like the public library.
What the hell is this? Who the hell does she think she is right now, bro?
It's because she's from New York. She knows my Californian ass is a dimwit. There are libraries, but you're right. I never hear anyone go, I'm going to the
it's different
library.
though, because like in New York, they're everywhere, the public libraries, and it's free and they're amazing.
Fucking idiots in LA. Do anything other than take selfies here? No, I don't know. We do have libraries. I mean, there's something called Libby where all the Kindles are free, but there's limited licenses. So, like for example, I just read this book called Tomorrow, which is really, really good. You should read it. It's written by a half Korean author. Very good. But it's like so popular that the wait list was 9 weeks, and I didn't want to wait. So I'm not admitting this to the law. I torrented it. I haven't torrented since college.
Oh wow.
That's how I know I'm old. I'm torrenting fucking ebooks, bro.
How do you do this?
But I just got it online, and I don't know. And honestly, I didn't even feel that guilty because it was just like, I don't know. I feel weird paying that much money for books. Is this crazy?
It's a little. Is it similar to? Let me think if it's similar to a movie. There's something about a movie and torrenting it that feels a little worse, a little less worse than a book. There's something about like I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
I know exactly
like
what you mean.
The way you just confessed that you were like you sounded like so stressed out. You look so guilty right now.
Meanwhile, if I say I download the whole,
like spank you or something.
Well, because I would happily admit that like, oh yeah, I just downloaded the whole season of The Office. Like I feel like I don't care about that as much as like. I just feel guilty doing it with books. I don't know if it's because I think they're getting paid less, or maybe it's because books are like kind of magical in a way.
It's educational.
It's educational. It's wholesome.
Yeah,
there's a teaching element that makes it feel guilty.
Yeah.
I think.
By the way, allegedly, I'm not actually torrenting. Allegedly.
right.
I don't know. I mean, as an
would you
author,
be pissed if you found out that Fumi, like 3 months down the line, torrented your book?
You like photocopied my cookbook page?
Maybe.
On Reddit, he found it.
Oh, that's really tough. Because now, having been an author, I know how much I've put into it and how much it cost me to produce it. I feel like once you are in it, you understand like the cost of a book. And then I'm like, damn, like $30 really isn't that much considering how much we put into it. But on the consumer side, like I feel the same way. If it's a book I'm not going to read more than once, I have a really hard time buying it. I'm like, let me see if I can get it at the library. Let me see if I can borrow it from somebody, you know?
There's something with books where you like don't want to pay. Look, I feel like if books were like $9, I'd pay for it, but they're always like $25. And if you buy 4, it's
Buy
$100.
buy the used ones. I buy the used ones on Amazon.
That's true.
And literally go to Goodwill. You will find every book
I'm a
that
Kindle. I'm a Kindle guy.
Oh,
There's
you're
there's no used Kindles.
Okay.
It's just data.
There is something about if it is similar to the price of a physical book,
It
a
pisses me off.
Kindle,
I know. I feel
it's-
like it should be like $9.
it's like the cloud.
Yeah.
Right, it's the cloud. And
Why?
it's infinite.
Why are you? Yeah,
And
it's
they have limited licenses at libraries. I'm like, what are you talking about? It's it's not limited.
Can you rent on a Kindle?
That's what it would be from the library. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it would be free, but you have to wait 9 weeks. You know.
Do you guys really borrow books from your friends? I've lent my friends books out, like my books. They're like, "Can I borrow it?" And
I never get it back when I do that. And I hate
we
it.
never get it
I
back.
never get it back.
But I do have a mental memory. Like I remember all the books, like when I think about it, and then I'm like, should I ask them back? But there's something shisty about asking for a book back too.
It does feel like Indian giving a little bit.
But even if it was like you can borrow it, like because you know what, the books that I have borrowed from my friends,
you don't give it back.
I haven't given it back, and I don't want to be honest.
So maybe it's you have to, you're not gonna get your shit back, but you're also not giving other people's shit back.
Yeah, maybe there's a.
I feel like it's just like the book distribution system. Like that's just how it is,
It
you know?
is.
But
Yeah.
I love to get rid of my books because once I read them, I feel like a hoarder. Like
yeah.
if I don't like the
Hoarding.
spine of the book, I'm like, it's ugly. I don't want it in my house. Like I've read it. I'm not going to read it again. I don't really read a book more than once, honestly. So
Yeah.
once I'm done, I'm like, who can I give this to? That's going to love it. And like, just like pass it on, you know?
You know,
That's a very good way to look at it.
You mentioned something earlier that struck a chord with me. In terms of you were like, well, I would pay $25 for a book if I knew how much work the author put into it. And I feel these days people are very entitled to content and stuff, and especially Instagram, like everything is free, you know. Even like sometimes like comedy shows, people be like, hey, your tickets are like too expensive, and I'm like, but it's my life's work, you know. Like I've been doing it 10 years. Like I'm like, I don't know, when someone's like $25 is too much, like I get mad because I'm like, I don't know. Like, I mean, like, it's my life, so it's not worth $25 to you. Like, you have a regular job, you know? And so, like, I get it from that side. And I wonder, like, but it's weird because we are training people to just have shit for free. You know, sometimes I watch on YouTube, I'm like, I've been watching this guy, like, he just goes camping in Alaska and like cooks fish that he catches and I love it, but I'm like, I would pay for this, but it's all free now. And your stuff is free too on Instagram and stuff.
It is.
And there's a part of me that's like, are we training people to just kind of have shit for free? And then
you
they
just
get mad
torrented a book, bro. What are you being such a hypocrite right now?
But I'm saying I'm being trained. You know what I'm saying? Because her shit is free, so I might feel entitled to your cookbook if I was like a big fan of VEGGIEKINS.
I think I feel good about it because it's something you can hold in your hands.
Yeah.
And it's also very beautiful. Like I feel like it's worthy of being like coffee table potentially, you know?
Yes.
But I also think there's a way where you can almost train your audience a little bit, because why is it that when we listen to a podcast, we expect to hear an ad and we're okay with it? I don't skip them. Like I listen to them. But when a YouTuber is doing an ad, or God forbid someone does an Instagram story ad, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to skip this on purpose.
Yeah.
I don't know why that is. I feel like it's like when you listen to the radio, you hear ads. When you watch TV, you hear ads. I feel like it's almost like this training that needs to happen where like people need to understand it's the same thing. Like we do these ads so that we can continue to make stuff for you for free.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And also I feel like because creators don't talk about money that much, that's why people don't understand the value. There are some people who do it on a budget, but for me, like I was even thinking about YouTube, right? Like I used to have an editor and I stopped having an editor because sometimes it'd be $600 a video. And I'm like, that's great because it saves me 8 hours of my life. But at the same time, the return on that video, I'm probably losing more money still. Cause let's say I made a video being like my favorite matcha lattes in LA. Okay. We probably spent about like $15 at each cafe. There's gas going back and forth. So I'm like, I just lost money on this video and I'm getting nothing in return. So I feel like being more transparent about that, which is something I've been trying to talk about a little bit more, like, hey, no, it costs me a lot to produce this content like at this level. I think people are a little bit more understanding and like,
this is why Cash Cuties is here, is so that we can break it down with people.
Yes, talk your shit. Talk your shit. Let them know.
Tell us
Let them
about
know.
the
She's in debt $90,000. This is crazy. She's struggling. Everybody.
The thing is, like, I really stand by this. Like, nothing in life is free. Ever. Like it just doesn't exist. If someone is giving you something for free, there's usually an expectation, or maybe it's like an investment in your friendship or the relationship you have with that person. When you receive PR, it's not free. Someone somewhere is expecting or hoping for something. So if ever you feel like, wow, I just got a great deal and this is for free, nothing's free. Like that's just the way that
so
I
should I
think
not
about
be
things.
taking like the free makeup that I keep getting, because that then at some point I am.
Well, you're but you're posting about it. You're using it. You're sharing it. You're giving them exposure. Like,
Right.
I think you're doing your part.
That's what she means by
you
not
know?
free. You posting about it. They're
Yeah.
getting free advertising. So you paid for it.
But I don't need to post. What if I don't post it though?
Then you might get less stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like it fluctuates, and maybe somebody somewhere will be disappointed. That's on them also for sending it with an expectation. But I feel sometimes guilty knowing that, like, oh man, I know I'm getting this for free, but I also know someone's hoping that I post about this.
Right,
you
right.
know?
I think having a book is good because then you have a place to point your fans. Like, hey,
Right.
all this shit's free. But if you want to support me, here's how you can literally support me. Buy my book.
Right.
Right. And I do that with like my live shows. Like, hey, all this videos are free.
Mm-hmm.
I'll edit this for free. But if you come see me live, that really helps me financially. So
And
please.
there's something so nice about promoting your own work versus like a branded product for some reason,
yes,
right?
yes. I don't
Doesn't
mind.
feel
And I think
icky.
people like it because it's
Yeah.
it's like a 1-to-1 relationship.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Is there a way like? What is the dumbest thing you buy?
Okay, you know what gets me? It's like a vegan sustainable item.
Ooh.
Like,
that sounds expensive.
I will pay. I'm like, it's good for the planet. It's good for
Right.
the earth. Like, I should buy this.
Shout out some brands. Like, what are does like Marc Jacobs make one of those, or are there specific
There's like
brands that?
Stella McCartney makes a lot of vegan stuff. There's a brand I love. The sneakers I'm wearing say it's like a vegan sustainable sneaker, but it's
Oh my god, your
expensive.
shoes are vegan? Is
Okay,
Nike?
but this is my problem with this, right?
Yes.
And tell me if I'm wrong. Is that sometimes they'll say something is sustainable or it's vegan, but it's like obviously a man-made material that looks like leather or something like that, which is never. It's like you can't even get rid of it. So I'm wondering, is it actually
good for the planet.
good
Yeah,
or is
yeah.
it
Yeah.
bad? It's confusing.
I think
I
there's
get
a lot.
confused.
There's pleather, just like plastic leather, but then there's also leather and other materials made from recycled water bottles. So that's like repurposing stuff that is never going to break down anyway. So that's kind of the stuff that I go
So you
for.
do
Okay.
your research.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's always like the small brands that like, they're just trying to survive. And I'm like,
Right,
I gotta
right,
support it,
I feel that. I mean, that's a good point because I've been watching this documentary on Netflix where they have these twins eat vegan.
Oh, yeah.
And then, but it's very, I enjoy it, but there's clearly like a political agenda because like
Sure.
episode 1 is the hook, which is that, and I'm like, this is cool, and then 2 and 3 is just like, this is how bad the meat industry is, all this stuff, which
Sure.
some of it is true, and it was disgusting, and I'm glad I got to know. But every time I watch one of those, I'm always like, okay, let's just say that we all stop eating meat and we all start eating mushrooms. Like, aren't we just gonna create some sort of mushroom shortage then, right? Like, I always
Yeah, I
think
thought about that. I've thought about
Like,
that too, but-
isn't the whole point just to be like more well balanced? Maybe I don't know.
But there's not going to be a short. It's like they always figure out some other way of making more stuff.
So they did that with cows, right? They're
Yeah.
making more cows, but it's bad for the planet. So I'm
Right.
thinking like if you find a way to make more mushrooms, there's got to be something where it's like now it's eating these bugs, and these bugs are important to the ecosystem. I just feel like
then they'll figure out we need to eat the bugs.
then we gotta eat the bugs,
Which they try to do.
So
but
that's my only hesitation with anytime I see sustainable marketing is like, what's going on? Like, just tell me the truth. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's.
I don't know.
think
What are your thoughts on that as a
with
as a vegan
sustainability,
person?
well, when it comes to animals, one thing for sure is that eating like cows, for example, raising cows, there's a lot of resources that are grown just for that. Like the feed to feed a cow, for example, is like added to it. So if you just remove the cow, you have a lot more land to grow, and you just don't need nearly as much. Like cows can eat so much. And the negative impact the cows have, like cow farts
Right.
are hugely detrimental to the planet.
Right, right,
Whereas
right.
like a plant is not going to fart out anything that's
Right,
like,
right.
fucking up the planet.
Just oxygen,
So
baby.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's I think it's doable. It's really a matter of like whether people are ready for that change or like want that change. And again, like the supply and demand thing, like meat and other animal products are subsidized by the government. So the prices are low enough.
Oh,
It's going to
I
be a
see,
shift.
I see,
And until I feel like
we just
the
need more
government is
people
behind
to
it,
eat it.
yeah,
it's probably not going to happen.
All
So we
right.
need more vegans out here.
Need more
so
vegans
we
out
go,
here.
Just more
right?
plants on the plate. I feel like that's my stance is like,
More plants on a plate.
yeah, more plants.
I love that.
I'm down to try it. Like do
Okay,
this
let's try
again.
it.
It's been a while since I've gone down this path, and
Yeah.
you know what? I feel inspired by you as a person.
You're very like non-aggressive about it. Like
Thank
you're
you.
like a chill
Yeah.
vegan. And
yeah, I feel
never-
like I'm choosing.
Yes.
Well, and
I'm
it's got to be that.
I am empowered
To
to do this.
do
this. To boo.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, okay. Well, we're about an hour. I think we could
Okay.
wrap this up. Thank you so much for
Love
coming on
that.
this podcast, Remy. This was so enlightening.
Thank
Yeah.
you for
I don't
having
know
me.
if there's is this is like National Vegan Month coming up or something.
I think it's actually January, but
Then maybe we'll release it ASAP, and we'll pair it with that.
Do it
and then
until Wednesday or
we'll
whenever
let the
February
people
starts.
know.
Hell yeah.
Where can our fans find you and your work? What would you like them to know about you?
You can find me everywhere at VEGGIEKINS. You can grab the cookbook and pre-order it now on Amazon or anywhere you buy books, and then it'll be out in March. And yeah, lots of free stuff
Or
all over
Pirate
social
Bay.
media.
Yes. You can totally
I
do-
can't wait for
At
this
Libby.
book. I need a cooking book. I like need to cook more. So
Yeah,
at some
yeah.
point
We all
we
need
should
to do
definitely
that.
look into that.
Yes. Please follow us on all the socials at Cash Cuties Pod. You can also follow me on Instagram and TikTok at the Fumi Abe. That's TheFumiAbe.
And you can find me at SteffieBake.com or on my Instagram, BakedGoods, BAIKEDGUDS, and Venmo me at Steffie is me.
Shout out to our sound engineer, Doma Goy, video editor, Matthias, and our analyst, Holly Sandler. Thank you so much. And we want to hear about your spending habits and your Cash Cutie moments. So if you want to talk about an awkward money situation you're in with your friends, please email us at cashcutiespodcast@gmail.com or just DM us and we'll talk about it on the podcast.
Or send us a voice,
voice
not
memo.
Venmo.
A voice memo.
memo. My money, my mind's always on money. It's like insane. A voice memo, and let us know. We really, really want to know about your financial situation.
Absolutely.
We want to try to help you with it.
Yes.
It might not be the best results, but you never know.
You never know. Sometimes it's good.
Until then, see you next week.
And until then, spend your money wisely.
Or don't, guys. Bye.